Hello, my friends. Eric Feltus here, life coach, speaker, actor, and host of The Great Unbecoming. This is a show about stories of unlearning. What did you let go of in order to become the person you are today? And what did you gain and learn as well? This is a show about letting go of stories that no longer serve us and stepping into our own authenticity. It's about unbecoming what society says you should be and remembering who you are and who you are meant to be. So sit back, relax, and welcome to The Great Unbecoming. Hello, my friends, and happy Pride Month. Eric Feltus back with another episode of The Great Unbecoming. It is Pride Month. And I'm so excited for this month. I love Pride Month. You know, as we celebrate this month, I think it's important for us to remember that, that Pride is more than just rainbows and parades, right? This is a time for us to honor and recognize the individuals who contributed to the LGBTQ plus community who came before us, and to acknowledge the progress that's been made towards equality. This is a time to pay tribute to the individuals who fought tirelessly for LGBTQ plus rights. Individuals like Harvey Milk, Marsha P. Johnson, Sylvia Rivera, Audre Lorde, just to name a few, who dedicated their lives to fighting for justice and equality, and who made significant contributions to our movement. Pride is, for me, it's about standing up against the grain of society and saying that I am worthy of belonging as and because of who I am, and not in spite of who I am. It's about telling our stories and listening to the stories of others. I love being gay because it gives me the gift of empathy. In my privilege as a white cisgender man, my queerness helps me to understand what it might feel like to be othered. And again, I have the honor and the privilege to tell my story in part because of those who came before me. So this episode is a special episode. This episode is a recording of when I told my own story at the pulpit at Hollywood United Methodist Church. I call this sermon Transformational Love, and I talk about how my queerness is next to godliness. Now, for some context, I gave this sermon at HUMC the Sunday after SCOTUS overturned Roe v. Wade. That happened on June 24th. It was a Friday, like a thief in the night. And this sermon was the Sunday right after that experience. So I talk about that a little bit and push back on that a little bit. And, this is the first podcast recording where I am speaking in a church. So I want to be clear, if you are not a churchgoer, that's okay. This space, Hollywood United Methodist Church, is an affirming space where we believe all are welcomed and celebrated as and because of who they are. If you don't go to church, that's okay. That's okay. I'm not the type of person who believes that there's one path for everyone. If church has burned you so much and you never want to step inside a church again, I bless your journey. As a life coach who helps gay, bi, trans people who identify as male to free themselves from church shame, my job is not to pull you into church, out of church, into out of the closet, into the closet. My job is to help you to love yourself as and because of who you are. And I believe that when you radically and inclusively love yourself, that the chips will fall where they need to fall. So thank you in advance for listening today. Thank you for listening to my story and me express my truth. Not exactly, but just about 1 year ago, last Pride Month. Again, happy Pride Month. If this speaks to you today, reach out to me. Reach out to me. If you want to learn how you can also love yourself, DM me on Instagram, Eric Feltus. Email me, eric@lifecoachingbyfeltus.com. We can chat a little bit, or if you want to skip the line, let me know, and I can give you an application to apply for a free discovery call to see if and how I can help you. But that said, sit back, relax, and I hope you enjoy my story. Good morning, Hollywood United Methodist Church. I enter this space with so many mixed emotions. Excitement, for one, shown by me coming to the podium a little too early. By the way, Bridie, you can clap for me anytime you want. I come to this space with gratitude for Reverend Kathy, who understands the importance of allyship, who understands that allyship is amplifying the voices that are different than yours, who understands the importance of opening ears and hearts. I come to this space with gratitude for Fred and Rance, who warmly greeted me at the door when I walked through their space, our space, for our sound and our lighting tech, who help us to be seen and heard, for our choir and our guest organist, who fill this space with beautiful music, for the people that I see in front of me, who welcome me into their space, their church home, with open hearts and open minds and open ears. My gratitude, however, extends so far beyond the brick and mortar of this church building. I am standing on the shoulders of giants, of LGBTQIA+, giants and trailblazers who made it possible for me, in my privilege as a white, cisgender, Christian male, to be speaking my truth to you, particularly the Black trans women who are murdered at a significantly higher rate than anyone in this country and continue to be ignored. I would not be here if it were not for my community that made it possible for me to be here today. Gratitude is just one of many emotions that I feel right now. Show of hands, if you felt more than one emotion in the last hour, can I just see you? Oh, beautiful. I love you. I thought that was going to have to be pulling teeth. No. I come to this space with rage and with deep sadness and an underlying deep sense of betrayal. I come to this space with rage that I, in my head, right or wrong, am purging onto a small group of people that feel it is their place to make decisions for the entire country. I come to the space with rage because these decisions were made because someone was voted into office from a political party that has not won the popular vote more than once in the last 30 years. This is not America. This is white supremacy. And I do not say this to shame. I say this to enlighten, because these decisions that have been made do not reflect us, do not reflect the majority of this country, and do not reflect the body of Christ. I come to this space with rage because I think of the people in my life that say they love me in 2016, who at the same time said that I was overreacting. And we are seeing that overreaction in real time. And if we think this is going to end here, it's not. Last night, I had the privilege and the honor of joining a couple of my friends at a movie in the park in Hollywood Cemetery. And I looked around into the audience, and I saw different body types and different colors, people that come from different religions and cultures, people that have been burned in different ways, all joining together. And I thought, this is America. This is the country that I love. These are my people, and this is the body of Christ. One reason why I'm so proud to be a part of the LGBTQIA+ community is because of our resilience. And my friends, we are not over. This is not over. This has just begun. And I want to hold myself accountable and say there are times where I trick myself into believing that we are done. That is my privilege. That is my privilege speaking. And I want to hold myself accountable for that privilege and say, enough is enough. I'm so proud to be a part of a community, both the LGBTQIA plus community and this church community, who understand and who raise my voice up. You know, I haven't always felt this way about my community. For the first 2/3 of my life, I believed in a God that did not love me. And now I am standing in front of you, getting ready to show you how my love, how my queerness is next to godliness. Amen? I want to go back to the first 2/3 of my life. You see, when I was a child, I knew that I was different from the other boys. And once I was old enough to recognize what made me different than the other boys, all I wanted in life was to not be that thing. But what happens when we focus on not something? I want you to think about it for a second, and I'll do this with you. I want you to close your eyes with me. Okay, we're gonna focus on not thinking about something. So our eyes are closed. I trust you're doing this, don't cheat. And whatever you do not think about a pink elephant. Who cheated? Who thought about a pink elephant? All right. Oh, you're so participatory. I love that. I have another one for you. I want you to imagine your best friend is running up to you urgently, and they put their hands on your shoulders and they say, "Do not freak out." Oh, okay, cool. What do? You freak out, right? So when a scared 13-year-old boy cries himself to sleep at night praying the words, "Dear God, I do not want to be gay, I do not want to be gay, I do not want to be gay," what happens? I put into practice a vicious cycle of self-denial, and I would pray the words, "Dear God, change me, change me, change me." And truly, with tears streaming down my face, I believed that God would change me. After all, if we look at our verse today, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind." I believed that God would change me. Now, my festering fear was doubled down by many people and factors in my life. For one, we live in a straight until proven otherwise society. And that means that members of the LGBTQIA plus community must come out in order to live authentic lives with a strong sense of belonging. But there is so much standing in our way before we can do that, my friends. I distinctly remember one of the pastors of my evangelical church in Aurora, Illinois, preaching about the dangers of homosexuality. As a child, this is me as a child. As a child, I believed that homosexuality was an abomination. If you are an ally, particularly if you are a parent, I ask you to use empathy and put your child in my shoes and imagine what it feels like as a child to be led to believe by your spiritual advisors who you admire and trust that your authenticity is a one-way ticket to burn in the fiery pits of hell for eternity. Can you see the fear in my head grip tighter as I justified God's hatred towards me? And I'm not alone. Here are some sobering statistics from the Trevor Project. 2/3 of LGBTQ youth who reported that someone attempted to convince them to change their sexual orientation or gender identity. Ally, an invitation. I want you to imagine the first crush you've ever had. Now I want you to imagine someone that you love and trust and admire telling you that you are wrong to feel that way. And if you ever feel that way or act on that, that you will be punished forever. 42% of LGBTQ youth who underwent conversion therapy reported a suicide attempt in the last year. This is not Christ. I am so tired of people using Christ as a weapon to marginalize when almost half of this group of people attempt suicide in the name of Christ. Bad theology does not make for good psychology. LGBTQ youth who experienced discrimination related to their sexual orientation or gender identity were twice as likely to attempt suicide. What happens when we focus on not something. My friends, the writing is literally on the wall. What happens is that we erase ourselves from the inside out, and the act is literally killing us. Dear God, I do not want to be gay. I do not want to be gay. I do not want to be gay. Y'all are like, this is Pride Month, and this is our guest. This is so sad. Yeah, it is. The body of Christ is a lot of things. We are inflicted in many ways, and this is sad, and it's messy, and it's authentic. That being said, I don't want to overstay my welcome in the negativity, so let's shift our mind out of that space, out of scarcity and into abundance, out of fear and into love. I invite us to look at our next verse, Mark 12:31. Gosh, you guys are on top of it. You're so good. Love your neighbor as yourself, and I love how this verse is written. Love your neighbor how? As you already love yourself. God, I love Jesus. Put your own oxygen mask on before you put the oxygen mask on your brothers and your sisters and beyond. It's an assumption that we are already asked to love ourselves, and I would say this means love all of you. I would also argue that loving yourself is the most Christ-like thing you can do. Now, there might be someone saying, no, that's not true. The most Christ-like thing you can do, according to the text in the Bible, is love God. And I say, yes. I say we're saying the same thing. I also think that could be a sermon for another day, so let's put that one on a shelf. First, love yourself, my friends, and love all of you. Do you know what that includes? That includes loving your fear. What? No. Your fear has been passed down from you from generation to generation. Your fear has kept you alive as a child. Yes, it's preventing you from living now, and we'll get there. But let's see our fear. Let's remember that love is an action, not a feeling. Love your fear, see your fear, process your fear. And this goes for queer people and members of the LGBTQI plus community and allies alike. You see, the coming out process for most of us is exactly that. It's acknowledging your fear and then choosing to move through it anyway. I ignored fear for the first 25 years of my life. But then something miraculous happened to me. When I was 25, I was engaged to a woman. And no, that is not the miracle. Hold on. I was also a theater and a Spanish teacher and a theater director. And one summer I was about to direct a musical, and I took my music director out to dinner. We were sitting at dinner for 2 hours. The scripts were next to us, and we did not touch them, because I was too busy falling in love with his eyes, wondering what his hand would feel like resting in mine, what his skin might smell like if I had the opportunity to press my lips against his. For the first time in my adult life, I was seen, and I saw Christ in him. Shortly after this experience, my friends, I called one of my evangelical pastors to tell him about this spiritual emergency. And he said to me, Eric, I do not know if you are meant to marry this woman in 6 months. By the way, can you tell I'm raising the stakes? The wedding was in 6 months. If there are any movie producers out there, this is a great one. Rev Kathy did not approve that comment, by the way. That was last minute. 6 months before the wedding, he said, I do not know if you are meant to marry this woman, but what I do know is that you are meant to marry someone in this box, and that men are outside of the box. So, needless to say, I felt even less comfort and more confusion. And shortly after that, I did something that I am not proud of, and I cheated on my fiance. And in cheating, I recognized that cheating was a symptom of living a closeted life. That hurt people, and I did not want to hurt people anymore. One thing Christianity has always gotten right in me is that God is always with me. And another thing I've known in my bones is that God is too big for a box. So if God is always with me, and God is too big for a box, then a closet is no place for a human being to live. Soon after that experience, I confessed what I had done to my fiance. I broke off the wedding. She finally saw I was going to say beautiful. I don't think she thought it was beautiful. She finally saw the messy and authentic me. And because the save the dates were out, so did my entire world. You see, the coming out process, my friends, it's a universal experience. Now, I know what some of you are wondering. Does Eric think that I'm gay? And honestly, I think everyone's gay, so I'm the wrong person to ask. If you are straight, I love you. Don't try to pray it away. Coming out is a universal experience, my friends, because it is risking relationship for authenticity. It's leaning out, pulling yourself out of fitting in and embracing belonging. Fitting in is cutting off pieces of yourself to be what society says you should be. The word should belongs in the category of fitting in. Belonging is being a part of something bigger than you, being seen, safe, and celebrated because of who you are and not in spite of who you are, so that we can build community. Coming out is risking relationship for authenticity. It's telling your father that you would rather have ballet lessons than play baseball. Your prom date that you love them without knowing how they might respond. It's telling your wife that you just lost your job, and more importantly, that you're scared. Coming out is risking relationship for authenticity. So acknowledge your fear. Don't hide from it. I just wish there was an example of what to do next in the Bible, because now what do we do with this? What do we do? I want us to think about what happened to Jesus the night before he died. For some context, Jesus was 33. He knew that one of his 12 closest allies was about to betray him. He knew that he was going to be beaten, stripped, humiliated, tortured until he breathed his last breath. Can you imagine how scary that would have felt? Let's see him right now in Gethsemane. Jesus went with his disciples to a place called Gethsemane, and he said to them, "Sit here while I go over there and pray." He took Peter and the two sons of Zebedee along with him, and he began to be sorrowful and troubled. Then he said to them, "My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. Stay here and keep watch over me." Going a little further, he fell with his face to the ground and prayed, "My Father, if it is possible, may this cup be taken from me. Yet not as I will, but as you will." One thing that I love about Jesus is the more I love my queerness, the more I feel seen by Jesus. When I was in 7th grade, around that time where I recognized that I was different from the other boys, that's when I started experiencing depression for the first time. Strong correlation, yes. My parents, doing everything that they could without knowing the full story, took me to see a therapist. And around the 3rd session, the therapist said to me, "Eric, well, you're probably gay." And I hated him for that. That night was one of many nights that I cried myself to sleep. Dear God, I do not want to be gay. I do not want to be gay. My soul is overwhelmed with sorrow to the point of death. My friends, the work starts by noting the fears that are holding you back. And the work continues through that process into questioning your fear. See, there's this idea that some believers have that faith is certainty. Faith is far from certainty. Faith is sitting in the discomfort of the unknown and choosing to believe anyway through your questions, as shown by Jesus. Do I have to do this? God, I don't want to do this. Do I have to do this? The work continues by leaning deeply into a place of love. God is the ultimate source of radical, inclusive, unconditional love, as shown here by Jesus when Jesus says, "Take this cup from me, but not as I will, but as you will." When I took the leap of faith and flung out of the closet just 6 months before my wedding, I chose love. And in sitting in my newly out self, I learned to be still, but this time without the wet blanket of inauthenticity. I learned to be. I learned to question what was holding me back. I learned to realize that if I risk relationship, I might have authenticity. I began to embrace the authentic version of me that longs to belong. And my friends, as a child, I did cry myself to sleep at night, praying the words, "Dear God, change me." And thank God, God answered my prayer. But God answered my prayer in a godly way, in a way that does not fit in a box, in a way that does not fit in the mind of a 7th grader wondering, what does the rest of my life look like? No, God is so much bigger than the box that I put God in. God transformed my mind into a place of radical, inclusive self-love. I can't think of a more Christ-like thing than that. And today I grow in my purpose, my authenticity, and my love for God and for others and for self. I even have dedicated my life to helping gay men free themselves from church shame. My friends, it's not easy, but I want to address the people both in the room and both at home right now, particularly those people who have yet to risk relationship for authenticity, particularly those people in the LGBTQIA+ community who are trapped in a closet. I see you, and I am so sorry that we have, as a church collective, have failed you. And I will never stop fighting for you. And I hope one day, my friends, my brothers and my sisters and beyond, I pray one day that you are able to open your heart and recognize that God can transform you and help you to love yourself as well. And truly, I say to you, I cannot think of a more Christ-like thing than that. My friends, thank you for letting me be a part of your space today. I love you, and I love this community. Happy Pride, and God bless. Thank you.